Welcome to the Florida Bar Podcast, where we highlight the latest trends in law office and legal practice management to help you run your firm. Brought to you by the Florida Bar's Practice Resource Center. You're listening to Legal Talk Network.
Welcome to the Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by LegalFuel, the Practice Resource Center of the Florida Bar on Legal Talk Network. We're so glad you're joining us. This is Christine Bilbrey. I'm a Senior Practice Management Advisor at the Bar and one of the hosts for today's show, which is being recorded from our offices in Tallahassee, Florida.
Hello, I'm Carla Eckhart, Practice Management Advisor at the Florida Bar and co-host of today's podcast. Our goal at the Practice Resource Center is to assist Florida attorneys with running the business side of their law practices. We focus on a different topic each month and carry the theme through our website with related tips, videos, and articles.
So we regularly get questions from attorneys about software and services that help them run their practices more efficiently. And they're often surprised to find out that the Bar offers its members over 70 free or discounted products, such as professional liability insurance, several excellent practice management software programs, free incorporation, legal research, and more. So we put together a two-part series focusing on Florida Bar member benefits. This is part 2 of the series. Fastcase is a long-standing member benefit which offers Florida Bar members free Florida case law search on its popular legal research platform. And joining us to talk about Fastcase are Ed Walters and Damian Reel.
Ed Walters is the CEO and co-founder of Fastcase, an online legal research software company based in Washington, D.C. Under Ed's leadership, Fastcase has grown into one of the world's largest legal publishers, currently serving over 800,000 subscribers from around the world. Before founding Fastcase, Ed worked at Covington & Burling in Washington, D.C. and Brussels, where he advised clients such as Microsoft, Merck, SmithKline, the National Football League, and the National Hockey League. His practice focused on corporate advisory work for software companies and sports leagues, and intellectual property litigation. Ed worked in the White House from 1991 to 1993, first in the Office of Media Affairs and then in the Office of Presidential Speechwriting. Ed also teaches what sounds like a very interesting course at Georgetown University, Law of Robots, a class about the frontiers of law and technology.
And Damian Reel is managing director at Fastcase. He's a lawyer and technologist with experience in complex litigation, digital forensics, and software development, and has been a coder since 1985 and for the web since 1995. Damian has clerked for chief judges of state and federal courts, practiced in complex litigation for over a decade. He's led teams of cybersecurity and digital forensics investigations and teams in legal software development. At Fastcase, Damian oversees development and expansion of the Fastcase legal research platform, integrating AI-backed technologies to improve legal workflows and to power legal data analytics. Welcome to the show, Ed and Damian.
Hey, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So, Damian, you recently started as managing director at Fastcase. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how it ultimately led you to Fastcase.
Sure. Well, as you said during the intro, I've been coding since a young age, since I was 10 years old. And I took that coding experience while I was practicing law, where I litigated for a large law firm with 350 lawyers, and I had a national practice. Throughout my practice, I thought, the practice of law is currently good, but it could be made so much better with technology. So as I was litigating for almost 15 years, I was thinking about ways that the practice of law could be made better. And that ultimately led to my joining forces with Ed now, and before that, just looking at the way that the practice of law could be made better and the way that technology can help with that.
So Ed, you have quite an interesting bio. Tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to jump into the legal research arena, into Fastcase, because, the White House, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, when I was in practice, I was kind of a beer and softball lawyer. I was the person you would want to take the summer associates out to convince them you could have kind of a work-life balance. When I got the opportunity to go to Brussels, the Brussels office said, we need somebody to come from Washington who is geeky about computers and otherwise completely expendable from the Washington office. And the firm said, we've got just the guy. So it was probably in the early months of 1999, the early days of the World Wide Web, that a big corporate client of the firm, a giant company, called and said, we need an answer to a question by tomorrow morning. The question's a case law question, but it's too new to be in the books. And so we need you to go find the answer online, but don't use Westlaw or LexisNexis. And I said, well, guys, those are the tools we use at our firm. That's kind of what everyone uses. What's your hang up? I mean, this company's biggest problem that year was, what do we do with all this money? I said, it can't be that the cost is too much. And they said, no, that's exactly it. We have 300 law firms who do work for us. They pass their legal research costs through to us. And last year we paid, tens of millions of dollars for other people's online legal research. So go find it some other way. And I went to go find another way, and I couldn't find one. Like, there was no big alternative to Westlaw and Lexis that could help me answer that question. And so at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm fuming about this in my office suite. By the way, I was not in my office often at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so, my next door neighbor comes in and says, Ed, what are you doing here? And why are you fuming? And I said, I can't believe that there's no other way to do this. I had to break down and use one of the traditional services. And I said, we're prepare all of the law, cases and statutes, regulations at taxpayer expense. We give it away to foreign-owned publishing conglomerates who sell it back to us for hundreds of dollars per hour or $100 per search. And the software is terrible. I've got half a mind to go, start the thing that I was looking for all night. And my next door neighbor at the firm, Phil Rosenthal, my co-founder, said, hey, did I ever mention to you that I have a PhD in physics before I went to law school? That's actually a pretty good idea. If you want to go take a look at that, let's go do it. And so we did. Actually, 20 years ago this November, Phil and I left very comfortable law firm jobs and a decent softball team to start the big alternative to Westlaw and Lexis. And maybe even since our bio, there's been another 100,000 subscribers to the Fastcase legal research platform, which now is more than 900,000 lawyers who have a subscription, many through state bar associations like the Florida Bar, the first bar association, I will point out, that subscribed to the service. Lawyers run more than 1 million searches per week on Fastcase. So by many measures, Fastcase now is the big alternative to Westlaw and Lexis. I'll just say one more thing about that origin. When Phil and I started from the very first day, the mission of Fastcase, of our company, was to democratize the law and make legal research smarter. And I think the software that we've built, and certainly the software that Damien is in the center of working on right now, continually makes legal research smarter. But the democratizing part, we really do in partnership with bar associations and working with the Florida Bar, which makes legal research available for free to all of its members in partnership with Fastcase, furthers that mission more than anything we could ever do alone. And so it is really that commitment by the Florida Bar to make legal research free and available on the desktop of every one of its lawyers that helps us to accomplish that mission.
And I'm glad that you bring up that aspect of it. While normally people love something that is free, I think that in this area, it made people kind of suspicious. I've been at the bar for 4 years, and so I was a Westlaw devotee. And so when I got here, I hadn't heard of Fastcase. And people would call in. I'd tell them that this was an option for them that was free. And it was almost like they were dismissive of it. So we want to stress that the Florida Bar, in fact, pays for this very valuable service and then in turn makes it free for our members. But I don't even know, how long have you been a benefit at the Florida Bar?
Since 2005.
Oh, wow.
And, I will say that it had certainly been in the past that people undervalue things that are free.
Right.
And they sort of think, well, if it's free, how good can it be? But now some of the biggest law firms in the world subscribe to Fastcase. Firms like DLA Piper or Littler Mendelsohn, firms with thousands and thousands of lawyers, pay handsomely for the privilege of having Fastcase access, the same access that you get for free as a member of the Florida Bar.
Right. So the, second point that we want to make is it is free to members. It's not free to the bar. It has incredible value, and it can most certainly be a law firm's single comprehensive research platform. Mm-hmm. But how has Fastcase improved since it first became a member benefit, or even since you first developed it?
Well, maybe if you guys are okay with this, I'll talk a little bit about sort of expanding the library, and Damien can talk a little bit about the new version of Fastcase, which is Fastcase 7, some of the more recent developments there.
Definitely.
When we first got started, I think Fastcase was really focused on case law more than anything else. But over time, we've added, statutes, regulations, court rules, constitutions. Members of the Florida Bar get free access to Florida law, Fifth Circuit, 11th Circuit, U.S. Supreme Court. But for just $195 per year, flat rate, they get access to the full nationwide legal research library. We've just rolled out a couple of interesting new features to that for the benefit of Florida lawyers. One that I'd like to highlight is the Family Law Case Digest service, which the Family Law section has rolled out with Fastcase. Every day, we identify the most important family law cases from across the state, and we roll them out in a morning newsletter. And that's available, not for like $500 a year or something. It's $15 a month. But every morning in your inbox, you get all of the summaries of the opinions of family law cases with just a single click. You can go right to that case. And, this really is a fantastic alert service. You don't get like a million alerts. You don't get cases that you don't care about, but very highly focused. And I think in partnership with the bar, we plan to expand that alert service into other areas of law, sort of beyond family law. So you'll see it, I expect, pretty soon for many other areas of law to have that alert service. I think it's gone from being a relatively discrete legal research library now to the point where it's as comprehensive as any legal research service you'll find. I'll just add one more thing. We've recently been working on secondary treatises. And so now you're able to find, these expert treatises, expert guidance for lawyers that go beyond the cases and statutes. If you do, for example, employment law, Littler Mendelsohn has written the book on employment law for Florida. They have like a Florida labor law manual that you can subscribe to. And now firms of all sizes can have the same resources that used to be cordoned off for the biggest law firms in the world. We love that kind of democratizing the law mission. And I love that as we expand the library, it really, every step, levels the playing field. It makes sure that everyone has access to great, high-quality legal resources. And that's just the beginning, right? So Fastcase 7 is going to introduce all these new innovations as well. Maybe, Damien, you can talk about a few of those.
Sure. And really, Fastcase 7, if you like Fastcase 6, which is the default for Florida at this point, you'll love Fastcase 7. Fastcase 7 does everything that Fastcase 6 does in a much more elegant and better way. There's some examples of the way that they're better are, right now with Fastcase 7, you're able to search across all the document types. You're not necessarily limited to just one area of law or one court. You can search across all the document types. In addition to being able to search across all of them, you're also more readable cases. The cases are readable, more readable. The search results are more readable. And the way that you can filter down, if you want to narrow your search, is much more intuitive in 7 than it was in 6. There's ways that you can be able to, today, be able to filter down to individual jurisdictions and be able to find things that are were possible in Fastcase 6, but are much better in Fastcase 7. And one way to do that is if you are looking for a particular jurisdiction or a particular area that you want to feature, you can start typing ahead, and that way it just filters and gives you exactly what you want when you want. So in those ways, we hope that the Florida Bar members are able to drill down. There's a toggle switch on the top right. You're defaulting to Fastcase 6, but you might want to check out Fastcase 7 because it's really a much more modern, much more fluid, better experience.
I know that one of the features that's very popular is the Bad Law Bot. Can you tell us a little bit about how it works?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start with this one, and Damien can talk about kind of what's next for Bad Law Bot. The idea for Bad Law Bot was that we could create an algorithmic negative treatment citator. And what I mean by that is courts cite overturned cases all the time. Sometimes they cite them to show that it was overturned. Sometimes they'll cite a case for a different point of law. But when they cite an overturned case, the Blue Book requires that they say so. So the Blue Book will have courts at the end of a citation put reversed by this other case, overturned by this other case in kind of a standard way. And so we built algorithms that will harvest all of this negative treatment information out of the cases and to flag those cases when they show up in search results. And there's a lot of information in these cases, like in U.S. Supreme Court cases at the end of the syllabus, they will say 692 F3rd 49 reversed. And so we can pull that very explicit, very highly accurate information out of cases. And one of the things that we love about an algorithmic approach is that you can continually refine it. You can continually make it better. With an editorial citator, sometimes people make mistakes, right? People come to work sick or with a sick kid or distracted. Sometimes people have bad days. If they miscategorize a case, it stays miscategorized forever. There was recently a survey that measured the accuracy of kind of the traditional editorial citators, and they were found to mistag cases as much as 33% of the time. One thing I like about an algorithmic citator is that you can continue to refine it. You can go over the cases time and time again and iteratively improve that citator to the point where our target is really to make it more highly accurate than an editorial traditional citator. Damien, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the skunkworks projects we have for Bad Lawbot to make it better right now?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. And like Ed said, the beauty of technology is that one can iterate and be able to improve upon what humans have done in the past. And so one way to do that is through, the words artificial intelligence are thrown around a lot recently, and some of that is snake oil. But we at Fastcase are actually using the legitimate artificial intelligence in the form of machine learning and natural language processing to be able to even better refine what Ed just talked about. So ways that we're doing that and working to make Bad Lawbot even better are being able to use machines like natural language processing to be able to understand the heart of what the language means. And what that means for our users is if there's a pattern as to the way that courts and judges refer to a case that is bad law, even if they don't use that formalized way that Ed just mentioned, reversing, abrogating, etc., we could be able to detect patterns in language to be able to actually, even if they don't use that formal language, we can actually detect that it's bad law. And not just from somebody saying, yeah, this case 3 years ago decided that this other case was bad law. We could maybe even be able to find out the day an opinion comes out algorithmically through a computer that another case is being overturned by that brand new case. So those are some of the ways that we're making Bad Lawbot, which is already very good today, we're making it even better and being able to get even faster results in a way that even a few years ago was only possible through humans.
And Christine and Carla, I would just add, this is just one of the many ways our team at Fastcase is working to make this benefit more valuable to Florida lawyers every day. It's not the case that, the Florida bar subscribes to it and we just call it a day. We say it was good enough. We are constantly driving to make Fastcase the best legal research service in the business, bar none. That means it should be better at the end of the day than even the biggest traditional research products. And so, there will be like a minute where Bad Lawbot is as good as Shepard's or Keysight. And that minute will only last a minute because we're going to push to make it better. And we don't charge more for that. We don't, try to hike our prices to the state bar. We are partners with the bar to make this really the best service in the business.
That's excellent. And our members are not shy about telling us when they're unhappy about something. So the ones that call in that are angry about, if it's Westlaw or LexisNexis, I always talk to them about Fastcase, and they're skeptical. But the nice thing is that I had people that were so skeptical, they were shocked. And I've had several members call me back and say, "You're right. I love it. It's better than what I learned in law school. I'm so happy with this." So I appreciate that feedback from our...
Right. No, every time you guys roll out a new feature, you make it very clear that this is included. Having looked at the contracts for other research platforms, I know that every bell and whistle is an additional fee. And, to have sort of this all-inclusive platform where you don't have to worry about paying astronomical prices, even for the more premium features, is truly a benefit to our members. So, I mean, earlier you mentioned that for an additional $195 a year, they can get all 50 states and federal and all, I mean, that's just unmatched. So even if they do expand their subscription beyond Florida, I don't think anyone can beat Fastcase.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for that unsolicited testimonial. I love to hear that. I mean, $195 is like one search. Right? On a traditional platform.
And if you accidentally go outside your plan.
Out of plan. Or some of them are timed. So a number of times it happened where an attorney at the firm would forget to log out. And it would be like they were viewing a document or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, and as an administrator, when I would get that bill, it about gave me a heart attack. So I was on the warpath going down the hallway to find out.
And it's always a negotiation how to, write off that horrible expense.
Yeah. So no, we really appreciate the service, and that's the feedback we're getting from our members. So thank you.
And then this is Damien. And one more thing on the feedback from the members. One advantage that Fastcase has really is that to the extent members have feedback, either submitting it to you or submitting to us directly, I, as the platform leader, read every one of those comments. And to the extent that they suggest a really good feature that could be implemented, I do that right away. So that kind of responsiveness, not only are we good and a free member benefit to the members, but we're also, I would argue, more responsive than some of the larger competitors.
Excellent.
So we normally recommend our members sign up for trials of any new software because sometimes, what works for me may not work for you. But with Fastcase, there is no trial run required. Members have access automatically. As Florida Bar members, you have Fastcase. But the question we often get is, how do I sign up for Fastcase? So how do Florida Bar members log into their existing Fastcase accounts?
Super simple. So there's nothing new to sign up for. There's nothing really to do. All you have to do is go to the Florida Bar website, and you'll see the link for Fastcase on the website. You click that link, and you log in with your Florida Bar username and password. So it is there's not like a new one or a different one. The same password you use to pay your dues or do CLE. Through the bar is always available to log you into Fastcase. And by the way, I should just say, we sort of take this for granted, but a part of that service, a free part of that service, is free reference support from our team of reference attorneys here in Washington, D.C., unlimited printing, unlimited customer support, unlimited searching, all included in that price. And these are research experts. I mean, as proud as I am of the software, it's really the people and the team that I'm most proud of. There is nothing that this team can't help you find on the research platform. Super nice, super friendly. They answer the phone on the first ring, and they are empowered to help people with really, whatever research task they have. And so I would say that reference support by itself is like hugely valuable, even if it's not like a software question, even if it's like a question about a research strategy. How would I find this kind of information? These reference attorneys at Fastcase are extraordinary. They're always available to help. They are on from 8 a.m. to I think now 9 p.m. Eastern time. For the little part of the panhandle that's in the central time, that's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I was born in that little central time segment of Florida in Niceville.
I'm from Pensacola. So
there you go. So I will rep the central time part of the state as well.
Excellent.
And to that effect, I also want to say, whenever people ask me, they've logged into their Fastcase, but then they have a question about how to use it because they think that because they logged in through the Florida Bar, we can give them some kind of technical support. I always send them to your website. You guys have great webinars, great, support tutorials and whatnot. So I think that's important too, because, there's not much of a learning curve, really. It's more intuitive than you could possibly imagine. And again, like you mentioned earlier, you guys have excellent support. You pick up on the first ring. I mean, so I guess that's just another bonus
for our members. Yeah. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of this segment. Thank you, Ed and Damien, for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us. And really, thank you for your partnership. We value our work with the Florida Bar and its members more highly than you can possibly imagine. When we were first getting started at Fastcase, when the Florida bar was the first state to really sign up as a member benefit partner, it meant the world to us, and we just never forget what side our bread is buttered on.
That's wonderful. So where can our listeners go if they have questions or they want more information about Fastcase? What's your website address, or do you have social media?
Yes. Well, you can always go to www.fastcase.com, fastcase.com. There are great support and training materials on Fastcase. You'll see a link in the top that shows help and support. That's on-demand webinars you can watch anytime you want. Little 2-minute videos that show you how to use a lot of features, many of which we didn't go into today. Our sister company, Docket Alarm, which is a great tool for tracking dockets or research into briefs, motions, and pleadings or analytics, which has extensive Florida coverage. You can find at www.docketalarm.com. And you can always find our nerdery on Twitter, which is just at Fastcase.
Perfect. In this Member Benefit Spotlight segment, we are featuring Ross Intelligence. Joining us is company CEO and co-founder of Ross, Andrew Arruda. Andrew is a Canadian entrepreneur and lawyer who is in demand internationally as a speaker on the subjects of artificial intelligence, legal technology, and entrepreneurship, and has been featured in publications such as The New York Times, BBC, CNBC, CBS, Fortune, Forbes, and the Financial Times, a member of the Forbes 30 Under 30 class of 2017, as well as a 2016 TED speaker. His aim is to forever change the way legal services are delivered. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm a long-time listener, first-time guest, so this is going to be exciting.
Nice.
So, Andrew, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to develop Ross Intelligence.
So I was an attorney. I got my start at a law firm of about 4 lawyers. And my first exposure to the practice of law came in my undergraduate year. So I got a job at that same neighborhood law firm where I grew up in Toronto in my first year of college. And I worked there throughout college and throughout law school. And what really inspired me was just as I kind of started to see some of the ways in which technology could have a role and could be kind of saving me time and helping me practice at a higher level, but it just wasn't at the time. And what then kind of tipped me over the edge is I ended up meeting my co-founder. His name's Jimo Viagle, and he was an AI researcher. And I started to hear about what was becoming possible when it came to teaching computer systems how to understand language. And once I started to hear that computer systems were able to be kind of questioned similarly, like you would have a conversation like a human, and be able to find information quite rapidly, I knew that there was something that we had to do to bring that to law. And we formed a company, called it Ross Intelligence, and have been building out our legal research tool since then. And as you just said, I think we're very excited that it is a membership benefit of the Florida bar. And a lot of really passionate, amazing users of Ross are from Florida. So one of my favorite states, and I'm really happy to be kind of working closer with the bar and with attorneys in Florida generally.
So starting with the basics, you briefly mentioned artificial intelligence, but to a lot of our listeners, that may be somewhat of a buzzword. If you had to, in layman's terms, explain what AI is, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I think it is a buzzword. Certainly, the other day I was traveling and saw that they now make Bowflexes with artificial intelligence technology. So once I saw that, I knew that it was a bit of a buzzword. But I think 2 things. One, I'll explain it. That'll be my second point. But one, I would say, it really doesn't matter that it's fueled by AI. It's the results it produces. So I think that's the most important thing. But very quickly, I think when you hear artificial intelligence, it's been around for many, many years now. Well, why it is now being mentioned almost everywhere you can kind of read a newspaper or a blog or a podcast is because something called deep learning and neural networks has become possible. And what that means, kind of simply put, is now we have enough computer power and digital information to start to train computers how to do a task. And the question is, how do you do that? Well, you show it various examples of something you want it to learn, and it'll learn. So for anyone out there listening who has ever forgotten your password or is setting up a password, and you see it says, hey, which one of these images includes a street sign or a storefront or an address, congratulations, you're actually helping train an AI system. And those kind of examples are fed in to help teach self-driving cars. And so what we do at Ross is we don't do images, but we train with different kind of questions and answers that a legal researcher and an attorney would be asking. And what our system does is it allows you to ask your fully formed, complex legal research question, including facts, including why you're researching and some other neat things. And it's able to kind of cut down the legal research process by up to about 50%, which is quite significant, especially for all you solo and small law firm attorneys listening in.
And you, on the website and in other materials, you explain the Ross AI search process, and you break it down into 3: understanding, retrieval, and ranking. Explain that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so I think the first step, and you heard me mention that when I was talking about artificial intelligence generally, is the really neat thing is the system is actually being able to understand what you're saying. And the reason why it's able to understand what you're saying is because it's starting to contextualize and look at those words. So when we say understanding, that really kind of allows you to ask your question in fully formed sentences. So you could ask, what is the standard for gross negligence in Florida since 2003? So you're not actually having to put in keywords or Boolean or kind of complex search queries. And then when it gets into the retrieval, what that really breaks down is it starts to look at all the possible candidate answers. So what Ross does is instead of looking at your question breaking down into keywords, it looks at your question in its complete form and it understands it. It understands legal language, and it'll start to look through the entirety of case law and find you the most relevant passages. And then the last bit is that ranking, which is just really another word for ensuring that you get the most relevant information in front of you. So what Ross does that is really kind of that huge step forward is it's kind of having and doing the heavy lifting for researchers. So instead of getting back 3,000 results and then forcing you as the attorney to read through that, Ross will bring you back almost kind of what you usually had to do after a few hours of research, those on-point cases that otherwise sometimes I even missed using some of the larger platforms because of the style. So you can think of it as if we're kind of inverting the research process. Instead of a lot of results and then you cutting it down, we get you to the point really, really quickly, and then you can kind of widen your scope if you want.
So many attorneys, because of whatever they learned in law school, are either like Westlaw or LexisNexis devotees. So why should they give Ross a try? And has Ross penetrated into the law school world?
Yeah, so I think the first one is why should folks give a Ross a try? I think, if we put on our kind of history hats for just a moment, I mean, if you think about it, even some of the legacy platforms were kind of resisted and folks didn't want to change over from books when they came out. And so I think that just it's hard to do anything and change. And what I always like to say is, I usually walk to the office in the morning and I usually take the same route. So I appreciate the fact that folks don't want to necessarily always try new things. But I think a couple things. One, Ross allows you to really find that information you might miss out on and find the information really rapidly. So you can really save on your research time and find insights you might miss out on. And in terms of our price point, we charge $89 a month for unlimited use, actually as low as $69 if you do an annual contract. And for Florida attorneys, and I think very relevant, you actually all get 10% off of the platform. So it's even lower. And why I bring up that price point is it's really what we're seeing is a lot of folks switching off of those legacy providers and using Ross as their sole tool, or using us in conjunction maybe with a Fastcase, maybe with a Lexis, maybe with a Westlaw, because we do things that those platforms just don't do. So I think there's a variety of different reasons on the why. As for if we're working with law schools, we are. So we've been working with various law schools for some time. We're actually going to be launching an official kind of law school program across the country in the coming months. But actually, just later today, I'm actually going to be beaming in to the University of Miami School of Law and teaching a class there about what's going on. And they all have access to Ross and have been really excited about the kind of that efficiency as well as just some of the other neat things that you can do in Ross that you just can't do in any of the other platforms.
Talking about those neat things or what other research platforms don't do that Ross does, can you go over a handful of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I always found to be the best moment in doing legal research is when I found, that I would usually print off a bunch of cases and then I would kind of highlight through them. And then I would find those 3 or 4 that were on point and they were starting to discuss the same legal issues, hopefully as it pertains to the facts that I had, as well as kind of why I was researching. With Ross, you can do a couple of things. That you can actually ask your legal research question the same way you would ask a colleague, so it's fully formed. But then you can also tell Ross, hey, I'm actually researching because I'm trying to prepare a motion for summary judgment. Then you can let Ross know, hey, these are the facts of my case. Maybe it has to deal with, a bankrupt company who operates in various counties or whatever those complex facts may be. And what Ross will do is it'll not only bring you back the passages which are most relevant as to your legal issue, it'll also take into effect why you're doing your research, so your procedural posture, as well as your facts. So it really kind of gets you to that answer very rapidly. And then after that, what you can also do is something called find similar language. And what's neat about that is if you're reading through a case and you come across a passage that you think is particularly persuasive, you can highlight that and say, find similar language. And what that'll do is find you across the entirety of case law, anywhere else that legal argument, theory, standard had been mentioned. And so we're really bringing you into those aha moments pretty rapidly instead of having the human attorney have to do that. So really, when you think of Ross Intelligence, I think a lot of folks, and this is what our users love to say, is it really allows them to kind of be that we're trying to supercharge your practice and allow you to do a lot more with less. And so one thing that I also will say, the best way to know if you're going to like Ross or not is that we actually offer a completely free 14-day trial. Don't even have to enter your credit card. You just sign up with your name and your email address. And so you can compare and contrast this all yourself. And so I encourage anyone listening out there who is fascinated with kind of artificial intelligence, who wants efficiencies in their legal research, and who'd like to see kind of what's possible today when it comes to legal technology, to try us out completely for free.
Wow. I have a very serious question for you. Why did you decide to name the first artificially intelligent lawyer Ross? And I'm asking on behalf of my husband, who is an attorney named Ross.
He was very excited for the swag at annual convention.
Well, I would love to say it was because of your husband, but at that time...
He'd love that too.
So, I don't know if anyone, if you remember the movie 3 Men and a Baby, which comically kind of had, right? Yeah. So I always think of our naming moment in that regard, because what happened was I sat down with Gmo and Parglas, and we were coming up with different names for our system, and we were just going through different ones we really liked. There was a couple that were shortlisted, and we ended up deciding that Ross was the name we were going to move forward with. Now, what is interesting is we were naming Ross. It's at the computer science department at the University of Toronto, and the street that's next to it is Ross Street. I'm not sure if that was the reason or not, but it's really worked. And in particular, I think we actually do have an odd number of users whose first name is Ross, and I think folks do get a kick out of that. Because now what's really neat is our users will say things like, I was really stuck. I was using one of the other platforms, or perhaps, it was a really complex issue. And then I remembered to just ask Ross. And so they're kind of getting Ross on their team and really looking at it as kind of that team member, which is really kind of what we wanted to do. We didn't want it to feel like you needed to it wasn't just search where you're going to then have to wade through all those results yourself. It's a different experience. It allows you Ross will do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. And so we really love that folks have kind of started to say, oh, well, I just asked Ross and I got my answer. That's really fun.
So what I noticed, some of our favorite member benefits, the sort of common denominator, is that they are intuitive. Ross has natural language search, which you touched upon. They have the advanced search, right? So Ross can sort of refine your search by motions, facts, exclusions. You touched upon that too. Then you have sort of this different categorization of the results. You have deep matches, fact matches, motion matches, with the deep match being when multiple algorithms are sort of a high degree of confidence that a particular case or cases are relevant. So what else about it makes it easy to use? I mean, again, you've talked about natural language advanced search, but overall, the user interface, what about it makes people just love using it?
Well, it really, what we continue to hear is people kind of remark that it makes them feel like the first time they ever experienced searching on Google. So you just, it actually can do much more than Google, because you could do full natural language search, but it's the simplicity of it. You're not clicking off boxes, you're just asking that question. And I think what really the wonderful thing is, when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's big, it's complex, it's a lot of algorithms, but the beautiful thing is that it really works as easy as can be. And so we've put Ross in front of folks who have 40 years experience, or Ross in front of someone who's just getting out of law school or in law school, and they are up and running with Ross within a few moments. So again, I think sometimes folks will say, oh, it sounds like it's too good to be true, or I would love to get a chance to see it. Like I said, I would encourage folks to really just jump in there and try it out. 14 days for free, rossintelligence.com. And I think you'd love it. It's all, what I love about it too is that folks end up telling me that it makes legal research fun, which, as someone who had to do it for many, many years, that's always a good thing too.
And then there's another feature that I thought was very interesting and useful, again, just adding to the utility of Ross. Can you talk about Document Analyzer? Yeah, so our Document Analyzer is something folks really love. And what it is you can drag and drop any legal document into Ross, and what it'll do for you is instantly read through, find all the different cases that were mentioned within that document, and immediately tell you if any of them have been negatively treated in any subsequent cases. So that happens within about 2 or 3 seconds, and you get that neat little list. But what's also pretty amazing about it is you can then go through the document that you uploaded and use some of those really neat features that are unique to Ross. So another thing we do in Ross is instant summarization of things. So you can open up a case that you might have been mentioned in a document. Maybe it's from opposing counsel, or maybe it's from someone else at your firm, or something you worked on in the past. And you can actually, and this is really neat, you can ask a question to a case and have that case summarize itself instantly in a way that answers your question. So it's almost like having a conversation with a case, and that's a really neat thing that you can kind of access via Document Analyzer. And so remember I mentioned that find similar language, you can also use that there. So if you're in that Document Analyzer and it's from opposing counsel and they make a really great point, or maybe begrudgingly you have to say, oh, well, good point there, you can highlight the language that they used and use that find similar language, and all of a sudden it'll show you across the entirety of case law where else someone had made that argument. So you can actually really use opposing counsel's arguments and documents almost against them, and their research against them, to kind of form and get insights that you just can't get with any other platform. And so that Document Analyzer is something that folks actually, in particular in Florida, have really loved. And we were featured in a newsletter not too long ago by a judge who was kind of talking about how that Document Analyzer has helped save time. And that's always lovely to see as well. And I think it points to our really close relationship with all the wonderful attorneys and judges and paralegals and law researchers and everyone in between in the state of Florida.
You actually made legal research sound fun.
I want to go do it right now. I need something to research.
So it looks like we've reached the end of this segment. Thank you, Andrew Arruda, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine and Carla. I am really excited, and I love the fact that you're kind of highlighting Ross. And like I said, if I could ever come on in the future, you let me know. Always an exciting show to listen to, and always good tips to learn.
Excellent. So if our listeners have questions or want more information about Ross Intelligence, where can they find that besides our member benefits page?
Yeah, so on rossintelligence.com, you can go, and that's where you also have your access to your 14-day free trial. Remember, Florida Bar, if you enter that as a promo code, you get your 10% off. And then if you have any questions about us outside of that, right on our website, you'll be able to speak to live folks here at Ross to answer any of your questions. But if you also want to find us on Twitter, it's at Ross Intel. And I'm personally at Andrew Arruda. But again, rossintelligence.com, and you can sign up today for that 14-day trial and hopefully have fun doing legal research, which I know it sounds crazy, but I think you may just really enjoy it.
Excellent. In this segment of our episode, Exploring Member Benefits, we want to talk about our department here at the Florida Bar and what it has to offer members. And so joining us is a hidden gem inside our department, our own director, Jonathon Israel. Jonathon Israel is the director of the Florida Bar's Practice Resource Center in Tallahassee, Florida. He is a proud FSU Seminole with a bachelor's degree in Management Information Systems. John is also an IBM Certified Systems Administrator. He provides law practice management and legal technology consulting to members of the Florida Bar and is a member of the ABA Law Practice Division. He has been with the Florida Bar for 18 years, I believe, as of yesterday. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
And he began his career in the Florida Bar's Information Technology Department. As the Bar's longtime IT operations manager, John brings a very strong technology background to LegalFuel, the practice resource center of the Florida Bar. And if you, in fact, get Carla or myself and you have stumped us, we will pass you on to Jonathon on those very hard questions. So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to take the long trip downstairs into the studio with you.
You're an important member benefit, so we do want to highlight you and talk about our department. We have a lot going on. I think a lot of people think that Carla and I are just the Florida Bar podcast host, but we actually have other full-time jobs here. But we want you to tell our listeners a little more about yourself and the programs that make up the department that you oversee here at the Florida Bar.
Sure. So really, the Practice Resource Center, as we call it today, is made up of three distinct programs. The first one being the Practice Management Assistance Service, which we now call LegalFuel, based on our website, legalfuel.com. We have our Lawyer Referral Service, and then we also have our Lawyers Advising Lawyers Service. So we can start with the Practice Management Assistance Service, if you'd like, since I know the two are very fond of that program.
Not to play favorites or anything, but...
Yeah, tell us about that one.
So it, just as it sounds, we're here to provide law office and law practice management assistance to members of the Florida Bar, whether their questions are related to starting a law practice, opening a trust account, reconciling their trust account, closing their law practice, how do I get more clients coming into the door, marketing their practice, any technology-related questions they may have as far as maybe they're looking into a new practice management software or some other new application that may improve the efficiencies in their law firm. We're here to help guide them through that process, talk through whatever concerns or issues they may have with that. I know that you two are fond of the trust accounting side of things, as we heard earlier in the show.
Christine especially.
But we really do, a lot more than just the basic trust accounting or simple, hey, how do I open a law firm? Or, I'm getting ready to retire. What do I need to look into? We really are there for the nitty gritty. I'm stumped on this, or I'm having some issues with this. How can you guys help me get through this? And that's what we're here for. We're trying to be a true member benefit to our members.
And then what are our most popular free services? And I know there's one we get called for a lot, but what other, apart from this podcast, of course?
Of course. Probably our most popular item is our free CLEs that we like to offer
ding, ding, ding.
all of our members. One of the things that when we transitioned into our current iteration of the Practice Resource Center and LegalFuel, one of the issues was that the solos and the small law firms out there, they already have enough expenses coming at them when they're trying to operate their law firms through what other expenses they're running into. They have a CLE requirement that they have to meet each year, or every 3 years, I should say. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And those CLEs can be expensive. So we at the Practice Resource Center through LegalFuel.com provide them with at least one free CLE per month, and our catalog of CLEs is available 24/7 on demand, and we're constantly adding to it. Right now, I think we're up to 83 free CLEs on our website.
Wow.
Yeah, which offers over 100 hours of general CLE credit, I think last count was either 11 or 12 ethics credits, and I think 63 technology credits.
One professionalism.
And one professionalism. That's right. Those are kind of elusive, but we're working on that.
Yeah. And I also want to emphasize, because we get this a lot, not just in phone calls, contact forms, but also through surveys. We do not have CLEs on specific areas of law. We deal with practice management. So you're not going to find bankruptcy CLEs, family law. Same thing with our forms. We don't have legal forms. We have administrative forms. So I think that's where there's kind of a disconnect. When people think free CLEs, they think that they no longer have to use the bar's regular, CLE course catalog. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Right, especially if you're trying to be certified,
right,
board certified in a particular area. We're not going to have those substantive law CLEs.
No basic skills either.
No basic skills. That one comes up a lot too. But we are here for the long haul. For those, you absolutely can get your 33 required,
right,
including those 3 technology. But Jonathon, so the other question we get so often, they see the free videos out there. What do they do with them? They don't know how to actually use them and get the credit.
Right. So just like any other CLE that you attend or view online, you're going to take the course number that we provide you at the end of the program. You're going to go to floridabar.org and log into the member portal, where you'll then be prompted to post your CLE credits using the course number.
Easy peasy.
Very easy. We try and make it simple.
Yeah, no. And again, Jonathon mentioned earlier, they're on demand. So, a lot of people ask us, what's the course number? Or I missed what this person said here. Rewind. Or come back to it tomorrow. Again, it's made for our members to have easy access. You can watch from a cell phone. You can watch from an iPad, from your computer. We often have members say they listen to it even though they're webinars. That works too. But again, they're free and you can access them any day, all day. Anytime.
And there's so much information out there. So Jonathon, how are you staying up to date with the constantly changing world of legal technology?
Yeah.
So much
It's so much
information.
comes at you so fast. Really, it's just like anything else. The news is constantly coming at you 100 miles per hour, it seems like. Staying in the know with all the different legal technology blogs or, legal resources out there. The ABA, the Law Practice Division, has the Legal Technology Resource Center, which does a really great job of trying to keep everybody abreast on the latest technology information that's out there. Practice management blogs are out there as well. Bob Ambrosi's Law Sites blog is a great one to stay up on. I think he does a really good job. Yeah, he does a very good job of being in the know and trying to keep everybody up to date on all the latest changes, not just in technology but practice management.
Right. And we also go to conferences where we learn a lot. We go to all these courses first thing in the morning till late at night. We're going to course after course on the latest and greatest, and all of us go. So it's not just Jonathon, not just me, not just Christine. We all go to different conferences, and I think we hope to bring the value of those conferences back to our members.
Definitely. And I think another good source is also a lot of our member benefit providers.
Right.
They too also have blogs that have a lot of good information, not just on their product in particular, but they really do focus on law practice management and try and get some good resources and tools out to our members.
So there have been multiple articles about a new platform at the bar for the Lawyer Referral Service. And can you tell us a little bit how the Lawyer Referral Service works and how the new software website has improved the process?
Sure. So the Lawyer Referral Service, earlier this year, we launched the new online platform with our partner, Legal.io. And the reason for making the shift to a new platform through Legal.io was the previous online portal that we had for lawyer referral was just not user-friendly enough for members of the public who are trying to find an attorney. It asked them the basic questions, who they are, where they are, and what do they think they need an attorney for, but that was it. They needed to know the specific practice area that they needed an attorney for. And a lot of times the members of the public think they know what their legal need is, but what they think their legal need is doesn't really match the specific practice area of the attorney that they're trying to find. So Legal.io has built a really exciting platform for us that uses artificial intelligence in the background. So a client that comes to our portal that has a legal need that they need some assistance with, it uses natural language. So what I mean by that is you can go in and you start typing just a sentence of what what your issue is, what's going on in your life that you think you need an attorney for, and it'll pick up. The artificial intelligence will pick up on certain keywords in your sentence and match you with the appropriate practice area, the attorney in that practice area for you.
And this is a great way for someone they've just gone off on their own, or you're you're fresh out of law school, to get some business, to get some people contacting you. What does someone have to do to sign up?
So they'll go to the Florida Bar's website, and under our members section, they'll see a link for Join the Lawyer Referral Service, where they'll then be taken to our application that they can fill out and mail in. The requirements are listed there. We cover 47 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida. The other 20 are covered by local bar associations that have their own lawyer referral service. So as long as they maintain an office in one of the 47 counties that we cover, then they're welcome to join our lawyer referral service. And one thing I'd like to point out is that the lawyer referral service serves two purposes. Its main purpose is to be a service to the public. Mm-hmm. Then its second purpose is the benefit to the attorneys that we're helping to get clients in their door. And that an attorney who maybe you get the client that comes to you for this one particular issue that they have, and they get referred to you through lawyer referral service, but providing them with a good service and meeting their needs can make a client for life. They'll come back to you again and again, whatever the situation.
Absolutely, to grow your firm.
Right, definitely. One client can lead to 100 clients over time. You just never know. So that's always important. Right. We also have another program, Lawyers Advising Lawyers. And a lot of times we, as practice management advisors, send people to Lawyers Advising Lawyers because, again, to emphasize, we cannot give you legal advice, nor can we tell you how to practice law, none of that. So we send people to Lawyers Advising Lawyers. Right. How do members sign up, one, to volunteer, or, on the other hand, if they need help or have a question, how do they access LAL?
Sure. So Lawyers Advising Lawyers is a program the Young Lawyers Division set up several years ago as a mentoring type service to help attorneys who are working on a case and maybe you just get stumped by a particular question or some issue that's come up in the case and you just don't know where to go to next. You weren't able to find the answer in Fastcase or anywhere else. So now you're just trying to figure out, what do I do next? And as you mentioned, we can't provide, we don't have the knowledge or resources to provide them those substantive answers. So what they could do is go to lawyersadvisinglawyers.com. They'll see two buttons there. One is, I want to be an advisor, or I need advice. And so depending on which route they want to go, they'll click on those. They'll then be directed to the Florida Bar's member portal, where they can then log in, and it'll prompt them through the sequence of either signing up to be an advisor or posing their question and then being matched up with an advisor.
So all of these things are housed on a lot of people, it confuses them. We have an independent website. So tell our listeners how to find that website and where they can find these different items we're talking about, how they can connect with you and
with us,
the practice management advisors.
Sure. So our practice management assistants website, LegalFuel.com, is just like I said, LegalFuel.com, spelled just like it sounds.
Fuel,
that's right. For LRS, the website there is going to be lrs.floridabar.org, but that would be more for members of the public who are needing a referral. If you're a member of the bar and you're interested in joining the service, then you'll go to floridabar.org. You'll hover over the members button, and then you'll see Join Lawyer Referral Service. And then as far as Lawyers Advising Lawyers, their website is just like it sounds, lawyersadvisinglawyers.com.
And so how can they, if they have questions about the business side of managing their practice,
that's us.
What are the ways that because I know that we have different formats, so talk about that a little bit.
We have lots of ways that they can reach us. So they can go to our website and they'll see a little button where they can chat to us during business hours.
You pop up.
I do pop up. I do.
You're welcome.
If they don't want to chat with us or they're just not comfortable with the chat process, they can email us at legalfuel@floridabar.org. And if they want to reach us by phone, they can do that as well, which is 866-730-2020.
Perfect. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of this segment. Thank you, John Israel, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And where can our listeners go if they want to follow us on social media?
So they can find us on Facebook. They can just look for LegalFuel, the Practice Resource Center of the Florida Bar. And if they want to find us on Twitter, it's LegalFuel_FL.
Thank you. If you like what you heard today, please rate us in Apple Podcasts. Join us next time for another episode of the Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by LegalFuel, the practice resource center of the Florida Bar on Legal Talk Network. I'm Christine Bilbrey.
And I'm Carla Eckhart. Until next time, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by the Florida Bar's Practice Resource Center and produced by the broadcast professionals at Legal Talk Network. If you'd like more information about today's show, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and RSS. Find the Florida Bar, LegalFuel, the Florida Bar's Practice Resource Center, and Legal Talk Network on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Or download the free app from Legal Talk Network in Google Play and iTunes. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.